guys, it's Alice and today it is time for another book haul. We've got a lot to get through today, and first up I want to show you a book that I actually won in a giveaway on Twitter, and it's this beautiful copy of The Heavens by Sandra Newman. I mean, who wouldn't want to pick this up? It looks amazing. It's a contemporary / historical fiction novel about love complicated by time travel. And that's all I really know. I'm not usually one to read romance books or books with a heavy romance element in it, but if it's got time travel in it, it's gotta be good, right? Then I have got 3 books that were sent to me by the publishers. So I've got 2 nonfiction books and 1 fiction book, and we'll start with the nonfiction. The first one is another beautiful edition, and it's called The Sakura Obsession by Ovid. This chronicles 1200 years of history all about Japanese cherry blossom trees, and it focuses on this man who was obsessed with these trees, and he helped save some of the varieties of it after they had almost gone extinct from Japan. I love nature books, and I love cherry blossoms, and I love history, so I feel like I'm really going to love this. It's also got some beautiful illustrations and pictures throughout the whole book, which is always good. Next, I got sent A Woman Like Her by Sandal Maher. This is an advanced reader's copy, so this book isn't out yet. It's out in July, and this isn't what the final cover is going to look like, but it sounds really interesting. The story is about Kandil, who you may have heard about in the news because she was often referred to as the Middle East's Kim Kardashian. She lived very freely, she posted a lot of videos and photos on social media that we here in the West would consider completely normal, but in Pakistan, where she lived, she was considered extremely provocative. And she was actually murdered by her brother in 2016 because he wanted to uphold his family's honor. I think that sounds so interesting and really sad, and this story just makes me feel so many things because this woman was only 1 year older than me. Last of the books I was sent by the publishers is actually one in Norwegian, and it is Hundene I Raqqa by Trygve Kalland. This is a thriller, and it's set in Oslo as well as in Syria, and the story is both about a man who has been taken captive by ISIS as well as a young boy who has been recruited into this radicalized group in Oslo, and the story is about how these 2 people's fates intertwine. This book has gotten great reviews here so far, so I'm very excited to read it. The rest of the books I have to show you today are all books I bought myself, and the first one is another one in Norwegian that I literally couldn't resist. Like, I saw this in a bookshop and I thought to myself, I really don't need any more books. But I just had to have it because I really like this author, and it is Utover enhver rimelig tvil by Malin Persson Giolito. I just had to get this because this author wrote a book called Størst av alt, which has the English title of Quicksand, that I read last year, and I loved that book. Like, it easily made my best books of the year list. So I just wanted to read more of her work. It got me really excited. This story is about this lawyer in Stockholm who is investigating the case of a doctor who has murdered a 15-year-old girl, and he's currently serving time for it, and she decides to try and help him because she thinks that he may not have done it, but then the further into the case that she gets, the darker it gets. I'm pretty sure the English title of this is Beyond All Reasonable Doubt. The next 3 books I got are all mystery books, and the first one is The Widows of Malabar Hill by Sujata Massey. I have been drooling over this book for ages because not only does it have a beautiful cover, it's also set in India in the 1920s, which is my favorite time period to read about, and it follows one of the first female lawyers in India who stumbles upon a case while she's working, which sounds really interesting, and I can't wait to read this one. Then I picked up a book that about 50 of you guys have recommended to me again and again and again, and it is The Sweetness at the Bottom of the Pie by Alan Bradley. This is the first book in the Flavia de Luce series, and It's set in the 50s and it follows a young girl who is an aspiring chemist who stumbles upon a mystery and tries to solve it. I'm really excited to read this since so many of you guys think I'm going to love it, but can you imagine if I just despise it? It would be so sad. Last of the mystery novels, I picked up A Rising Man by Abir McCurry. This is actually also set in India, in Calcutta, I believe, and the story is about a former Scotland Yard detective who has traveled here in search of a new start after the Great War. And I think that immediately after he arrives, he is like sucked into a murder investigation. I got this book because it won some sort of crime fiction prize and I just thought it sounded really good. The last 4 books I got are all from the Women's Prize for Fiction long list, which is why I got them. And the first one is Milkman by Anna Burns. I'm really intrigued by this because I talked a little bit about this in a video I did about the Women's Prize long list, and I said in that video that I didn't know if I was going to read this because I didn't think that I would like it, but a lot of you guys said that I should give it a go anyway and that it was actually really good, so I'm going to give it a go. It's set in Ireland and it's kind of like a dystopian novel, but apparently that dystopia is meant to talk about the Troubles, which is a conflict that started in the 60s, and I literally don't know anything about it, which makes me a lot more intrigued to read this. The second one I got was Praise Song for the Butterflies by Bernice L. McFadden. This is set in West Africa and it follows a young girl who is living quite a lovely life until fate seems to bring trouble to her family, and to appease the gods, her father sends her to live in this religious shrine where she's basically a slave. But then it also follows her after she's left that shrine, which is really interesting. Second to last, we have got The Silence of the Girls by Pat Barker. This is a retelling of the Greek myth of the Battle of Troy, and it looks at the story from the perspective of the women instead of the men, which sounds really interesting. I have been loving all of these Greek myth retellings that have been coming out lately. Like, it's a trend I'm a huge fan of, so hopefully I'll love this as well. Lastly, we have got this gorgeous edition of Remembered by Yvonne Battle Felton. This is set in Philadelphia in 1910, and it follows the mother of a man who has been charged with a crime, but we're not sure if he did it, and the story is all about this woman's struggle to come to terms with her past, as well as facing the prospect of maybe losing her son. I am very much looking forward to this. It sounds amazing. Okay guys, those are all of the books that I had to show you today. I'd love to know if you've read any of these, what you thought of them, if you want to read them, or if you have gotten any new books lately, and I will see you soon. Bye!